Welcome everybody to the Basic Playlist. This is a series of videos and making to cover what are the fundamentals of a good life. I wanted to be specific and practical advice, no bullshit whatsoever. Actually, there's some exercises below that you can download for finding your good life or whatever. And whoa, look at that, a YouTube channel that actually makes you work, you lazy bastard. And I know you may be wondering if this is a channel about marketing, branding, making money on live, passive income, most woke, widescreen woke, most empty? Why am I watching a video about hippie stuff of life? Okay, Fred, you are alive. So everyone alive should know about the fundamentals of life. Oh, never mind. Wealth is just a part of the picture. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I'm in my 20s. Because everything else is extra and these are the basics. Starting with the most fundamental part of all, called elemental particles, duh. But for sake of simplification, we'll just use the atom. Or this atom. Okay, so the atom, as you know, is the building block of everything. You, your dog, your rock, Basil, and the universe. I love Basil, by the way. But you should already know this. How atoms go from this to this to this to this is something that you learn at school. Do you know what you don't learn in school? Your chances of being human. It's 400 trillion to 1. 400 trillion! I can't even comprehend how big that is. You could be a hypo or a rock. For that alone, you should be immensely grateful of the miracle that is that you're breathing right now. Even more, the fact that you're watching this video on a smartphone over the internet is even more amazing. It means that you have much more luxuries for people just 200 years ago, like you eat every day, you have machines that work for you, and you even have enough free time to watch some random drawings of a guy on a piece of well-organized rocks over a network of devices that transfer information almost instantly across this world of miracles. And you still complain that you're bored. But we are humans. Content Homo erectus got eaten before they could pass on their genes. But it's our chronic dissatisfaction and the desire for more that got us here in the first place. So fuck you, washing machine. The floor is dirty. And why does my pizza don't have pepperoni? Anyway, besides that, you should already be grateful for being alive and living in the most luxurious time of history. What do you really need for a satisfactory life? For the last 10,000 years or so, people across the world have been trying to answer this question. And about 100 years ago, this guy developed his own theory, experiment with a sort of hierarchy of needs. And I think it's a good way to start. For those of you who are seeing this for the first time, it's pretty much self-explanatory. It classifies all human needs in order of urgency. Of course, you can see obvious things at the bottom like sleep, eat, breathe, homeostasis, then a step further, security, things like health, financial stability, physical integrity, meaningful relationship with other people. And now we enter deep sea waters with things like success, morality, self-actualization, which are concepts a bit abstract and not easy to define into a specific thing. Let's try with another type of classification, by category. What about health, wealth, and relationships? Health is the most straightforward one, and there are fundamentals that can apply to anyone, like good sleep, healthy food, exercise regularly, nature, and that. Then you have wealth, which combines finances, income, expenses, or career, and relationships that you can have with yourself, you're strong, and you're weak. So if you could max out all these stats, you should have a good life, right? Okay. This said, there are contrasts of studies correlating these three factors to life satisfaction. On wealth, you have this graph. It shows that money just correlates to a certain point with satisfaction. After 60k, 80k, it starts to flatten out. And then on this other confusing one, it shows basically the same thing, but just organized by countries. You have poor and dissatisfied, and rich and satisfied. And then you have Hong Kong. Health is pretty much reciprocal because your brain is stupid. And with relationships, well, we'll explain the correlation with that and why and how in the respective videos. Keep in mind that we're talking about life satisfaction, not actually happiness. That's why Finland always ranks up on top, Finland's being Finn, and places like Spain don't rank so high. But these are just cliches. Spanish people can also get sad. Maybe this won't be enough. Maybe you'll be rich, healthy, and have lots of friends and still be miserable. If only we had other examples of people trying to find a good life. Oh, thanks, Peter. And what better way to start than with the Buddha? So Buddha was this prince in India that one day decided to leave his palace where he had all his stats maxed up and live into adventure and went to a tree. Legend tells that meditating after 40 days he became the awakened one and came to an astounding conclusion that life is suffering. Wow, thanks, Buddha. Maybe it has to do with the fact that you've been starving for 40 days under a tree. He said that we suffer because we desire things that we cannot get. So just eliminating all desires and strive for a simple life to a happy life. But if suffering is inevitable to life, then so is joy and happiness. You will always be able to find those sparks of light in your darkest hours. I think we should talk about Confucius because he was kind of an important guy. He focused on social hierarchy, collectivism, obey their authority, and act with virtue and kindness. Everyone should know their own place, and a peasant should be a good peasant, and a noble should be a virtuous one. But just maintaining the status quo and blending into society is not really my thing, so... And what about the Tao Stoics? These are two thought lines that I'm deeply in love with, and although they may seem different on the outside, they have lots of things in common. They both stand off the idea of letting go of things you can control, or things like luxury that are not really necessary for your life. They held in very high standard, consistency and self-discipline. Just keep chill, cool and have patience. And speaking about the Tao, let's talk about Wu Wei. Action without action. And there are many interpretations about this, and it's not an invitation to laziness, but rather acting while letting go. The Tao never acts, yet nothing is left undone. Act without effort and let it flow naturally. Enter in the flow zone, as they say. Don't force things into what you think they should be, and don't let your ego in the way. The Tao acts in nature. Plants grow little by being consistent until they grow into massive trees. Like water, through persistence, an obstacle can be worked around and gradually eroded, thus acting without action.
Be water, my friend.
Stoics take a different route, more like earth element, and no matter how good or bad, it will be okay. Also, don't be stupid, become aware of the things that you can control and those who you must take full responsibility of. Don't let your problems grow larger than they should be. As this famous prayer says, give me the wisdom to know the difference. Cheers! Stoic often experiment worst case scenarios, living like homeless or eating hard bread, and then you realize that almost nothing material is needed for a happy life for he who has understood existence. And also, stillness and meditation were also highly valued, letting go of everything and learning from nature. Because nature does not hurry, but everything is accomplished. Although Stoics are more practical and active, they're both based on the same principle that everything will be okay. One's trusting the Tao and the other's trusting self-resilience. Let go of things outside your control, get a good attitude, and endure life with patience and perseverance. Overall seem cool, but what about having fun? Hedonistic said that since we're going to die anyway, let's have as much pleasure as we can, right? These were your typical chads just seeking pleasure for the sake of pleasure. Ka-ching, ka-ching, Lambo bang. You can imagine. And not realizing that this was producing negative returns. Fast. Hedonistic adaptation, they call it. What they were doing is basically dopamine overloading their brain, and since they seek the most pleasure all the time, their base levels were completely destroyed. No wonder why life seems blunt and everything else compared is so tiny in dopamine. But this guy got it better. Instead of pleasure, pure hippie love and peace descended from heaven like a strike of lightning. Although he's remembered for the happiness part, he also killed the gods with logic. A much sober version of the last one. Like the Buddha, this guy meditated and came down to the conclusion that men are unhappy because we fear things. So stop fearing stuff. Then to reach nirvana, ataraxia, you run away from pleasure to pursue pain. No, the other way around. But always focus long term, trading short term pain for long term pleasure. And not only material stuff, but also pains and pleasures of the soul. Things like envy, wrath, peace, or friendship. Don't engage in politics, don't marry, and stay away from complexity. He's remembered mostly for reducing our needs to the bare minimum so you can enjoy self-sufficiency. And wow, one of the first advocates of financial freedom. Where's his mustache? And then proceed to move on to an island for a simple life with bread, cheese, and friends in our commune or community, where he'll develop his 3 cores of happiness. 1. Meet with your friends often, if possible, live with them. Harvard confirms. 2. Find the fulfilling part in that community and serve with your work. Frank approves. And 3. Find calm inside your mind through being alone with yourself, just reflecting and writing. This sounds a lot like the optimistic cousin of Buddha, the pessimistic. But anyway, that's it. That's finally the happy place of... What the This is the last man theory. An individual just consumes and doesn't create, being able to satisfy all his needs in an instant. He thinks he invented happiness, but having fun without bothering anyone is bad. It's not worthy of humanity. They need to transcend in the superhuman. A man who can find his way into the universe and the meaning of his life. Okay, and how to do that? I don't know. Okay, bye! For real, I can't really stand this anymore. These guys with beards. Frank! So, on purpose and meaning. This guy happened to take a mandatory visit to Auschwitz for a couple of years, and he wondered what was the difference between those who survived and those who didn't. People that needed to take care of the child when the war was over, or things that they want to accomplish, were more likely to survive. They had meaning and a good attitude, as that famous man said. A man who found his why can better anyhow. But finding this meaning is not as straightforward. A man should not ask what the meaning of his life is, but rather should recognize that it is he who is asked. You can decide, you can create your own meaning, being a cause, a person, or an attitude towards inevitable suffering. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it. Your interpretation is up to you. Look, I don't want to sound like your typical self-help guru, but there is one more thing that you need to know. Perspective. We live in a complex world, and although it may seem big and important, it's actually a speck of dust dancing around a ball of fire that dances around bigger stuff. Stuff that screams death. Or more precisely, a hostile environment that just doesn't care. Our existence is fragile, and sooner or later you're going to die, and nothing will really matter then. So you might as well enjoy your time here. You've only got one life, so what's it going to be? I know it has been a lot to take in, so let's recap. What can we learn from all of this? Well, it's a miracle that you're even alive, so be grateful. Check. Second, human condition make us complain and always strive out for more. Check. Feelings of happiness or misery are not directly under your control. This said, you can work towards increasing your chances for one or another, but you'll always have a bit of both. Understand that you cannot chase happiness and neither you need to be happy all the time for a fulfilling life. Check. Max out your basic stats to stay away from stress factors, but understand that it's so little that you actually need, and most of the things are extra. Check. 4. Develop the right mindset and your belief systems of this world. Check. 5. Find the purpose and live for it. Check. Understand that this is extreme simplification. Existence is complicated and hard to understand, but this framework has served me well in times of confusion. A very simple guide, good enough and easy to be understood and remembered. So when mist appears and I feel so stupid and confused that I doubt if I'm able to tie my own shoes, I just have to remember 3 things. Triangle, arrow, and circle. And I can get back on track. So once more, what you do, you max out your stat, why you do it, you develop your purpose and mindset, and how you do it, I'll talk about it in the next video. Congrats! You made it to the end. These videos take a long time to make, so I prepare a guide for you to download and do some exercises. It may help clarify your ideas and start taking action towards a life that you actually enjoy living. Also, these guides can be updated faster than the videos, so download it, work on it, you won't regret it. And I'll see you next time. This has been the Brandless channel. Okay, bye. Now some beautiful sounds to make you close this page and actually start doing something useful.